Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with all council members present tonight. So before we adopt our agenda, I do just want to remind the community that we do not have any regularly scheduled business meetings for the next 2 weeks. So council will resume to regular business meetings on Tuesday, July 14th. So just a reminder on that. And at this time, I'd like to invite up our Assistant City Manager, Stacey Ray, for an announcement.
There we go. All right, thank you. For the record, I'm Stacey Ray, Assistant City Manager, and it is with great pleasure tonight that I'm introducing our new Director of Strategic Communications. I want to welcome Brandon Chappie Chapman. I'll give him a chance to introduce himself, but we are so pleased to have him with us. He's been on the job for about a week now, just under. And Chappie has worn many hats in his career. He comes to us having been a broadcaster, a journalist, a professor, and a director. And so we are very pleased to welcome him. And tonight I'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself. So Chappie.
I'm really glad I didn't trip on my feet on the way up here, so that's a good start. Yes, people call me Chappie ever since I rode the bench in high school baseball, and I grew up here in Olympia. Played my little league here. Went to Boston Harbor Elementary School, Reeves Middle School, and then my parents moved me to Centralia with our family. And this was the big town, believe it or not, for a kid growing up in Centralia. So I am so pleased to be back here. I served on city council in Pullman for one term, so I know the job that you have, and I know that you have a really compelling interest, and your heart is with responding to residents. And I know residents are really needing good information at the right time in the right manner, and I'm pleased to be here to help do that. And I want to help you to inform, again, with the right info at the right time and the right way, to inspire the residents and to involve them in great decision making. So yeah, week 2 on the job, and I can't tell you enough how pleased I am to be here and how really impressive I think our city staff is. But ultimately, I recognize from being in your shoes that my boss's 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 boss are the residents, and so I'm here to help to involve them in making the city, continuing to make it even better. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just a hearty welcome to you and a lot of gratitude in advance.
Okay. Thank you for the warning. Thank you.
All right, so with that, we need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is a special recognition item. Mayor for the Day Essay Contest winner, Harriet Rambo, who has joined us tonight for just recognizing her. Oh, there she is also on the screen there. So we had a wonderful day last month, and Harriet was selected as mayor for the day out of an essay. I believe this was Harriet's second time applying for the program and was selected this year. So can we give Harriet a round of applause for her accomplishment? It's so good to see you again. So I'll say more in a moment, but for now, we want to give you an opportunity to come on up to the podium here, and why don't you read your essay to us and to the community. And Mayor Rambo is approaching.
Hello, my name is Harriet Rambo. I find quiet reading, botany, and being outdoors to be fun pastimes. I am 12 years old and go to Jefferson Middle School for the JAMS program. When I was little, I wanted to be an author and share my stories and poems with the world. For a brief period of time, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was older. Now I have too many options. Like a botanist, park ranger, or volcanologist. My passion is science. If I were mayor, my focus would be on the environment, and all the other important things too. For example, there's an old establishment about to be demolished right by the legislative building. I don't know why it's being destroyed, but I have a thought of what could replace it. A lot of forest spaces are being taken apart for housing, so what if we planted a wood of trees there? It would add to the natural beauty and help the environment. I know this might not be possible, but it's just an idea of what I want to do. Even if I were only mayor for a day, I would try my best to make sure everybody or everything was included, even the trees and wildlife around us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harriet. And you should know that there are many community members who feel similarly and very strongly and are passionate in all the ways that you are. Emily was also joined by her mother, Emily, for the day, which was really special to spend that time with you all. And I do have to tell this story because I just thought it was hilarious. So when we wrapped up the day, as you can see, we spent the time with OPD and with crew, learning more about our crisis response unit. We also spent some time with our parks ranger and had lunch at Squaxin Park, which was really awesome. And then we wrapped up with going to Public Works and learning more about our water system, as well as Harriet got the opportunity to take a ride in one of our street sweepers and told her a little bit about the program that we have with our calendar artist as well. And so it was really great. It's also an opportunity where I, as the mayor, get to learn a little bit more as well, because my days don't always consist of, engaging with our departments and things like that. And so it was a great opportunity. But the discussion, or rather in the vehicle on the way back from Public Works, we wrapped up the day. It was Debbie Sullivan's retirement, if you recall. And Emily, Harriet's mother, turned to her on the way over and said, "Okay, honey, do you have your remarks prepared for Debbie's retirement?" And look on your face was priceless. And but you should know that sometimes that's how it is, and people will ask you to speak on the spot, and that's not always an easy thing to do. But you're doing something that so many people are afraid to do, who are much older than you are. So congratulations again to you. Are there any comments from my colleagues on council? Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Congratulations, Harriet. Should say Mayor Rambo. My name is Ian Nguyen. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem, and I had the distinct pleasure of reviewing some of these applications with Mayor Payne, and we had a lot of really great applicants. I had a top 3, 4, maybe even 5 that was hard to whittle down, and yours is one of the ones that just made me smile. And one of the things that really stood out to me, and I hope it's even truer for you now after the Mayor for the Day experience. Let's see, where is it? Oh, for a brief period of time, for a brief period of time, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was older. Now I have too many options. And I loved that. And I hope that you continue feeling like you have too many options, because you can do anything. And I hope that other people in our community also can have that same really wonderful privilege of feeling like they have too many options. And Mayor for a Day, or Mayor for longer than a day, is one of those options for you. So really cool. Thanks for applying, and so glad that you were chosen, and so glad that you had this experience.
Thank you. I'll just finish by saying that this program that I started, you were only the second our Mayor for the Day that we've had. And I really started this program because I wanted our young community members to have exposure to local government at a young age for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and to also just have some touch points with the city that is complementary to the youth council that we have, and also set the stage for that. So when you're older, maybe you'd be interested in serving on our youth council that we have here at the city as well. And so for me, your essay, you said that science was your passion. I enjoy science, but it's not my number one thing that I'm passionate about. And so I didn't want another person that was just like me. I wanted somebody that had something different to offer. And so that was a big part of my selection of choosing you and what you cared about as well. And I can relate to that, not knowing what you want to do and trying to figure that out along the way. And so I just really appreciate you taking the time to apply, for showing up, and for bringing yourself. You asked a lot of questions that day. And we all got to benefit from that as a result and learn along with you, so thank you. And so we just wanted to take time to acknowledge you here publicly and have you here today, so congratulations again, and wish you all the best. Thank you, Harriet. Okay, and thank you, parents, too. Emily and Charles, thank you for sharing her with us. All right, so that concludes our special recognition for tonight. We are going to move on to public comment. We do have one person signed up in chambers tonight. At this time, I'm going to call forward Lauren Weiser, and please, yes, please correct it for the record. You have 2 minutes for your comments, and they begin now. Lauren Weiser. Oh, your mic is not on, sir. There you go.
Testing. Okay, I'm Lorian. I've lived in and around Olympia since 1968, but most importantly, most relevant, I'm the past chair of a group called the HU Olympia Artesian Well Advocates, and I'm here to speak about the condition of our artesian well, which is, it's miserable. It's really awful, and I fear for its long-term viability at this point. Our group worked really hard. We did a lot of research. We went to original maps. We conducted surveys of well users. We had over 1,000 respondents to it. And the thing that came out of that, one of the really important issues is access to the well. Day before yesterday, I noticed that the access from 5th Avenue has been closed off by big steel fence. Of course, the joke of the Artesian Commons Park, that closed off the 4th Avenue entrance. So what we have now is a narrow strip, basically surrounded on 3 sides with these ugly fences. Access is important. I will have suggestions that I will be mailing the council after the thing, but briefly, I want to see some of that fencing taken out. I would like to see regular, something needs to be done with the lot to the north that was supposedly be the park. The chain link cyclone fencing that was put up has holes in it. It's strewn with garbage. Speaking of garbage, the waste can is almost always overflowing.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Thank you. If you stick around, you might hear some response from council. Okay. All right. So that concludes public comment for tonight. Is there any response from council? Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you. I'm wondering if staff might comment on both what the short-term cleaning up and then what our plan is to consider that Artesian Commons lot.
Yeah, thank you. So we are doing some planning this year around the lot to the north, the Artesian Commons lot, as council is aware, it's on council's work plan. We're going to be out here in the next couple of months doing some community engagement around that. And then our economic development director will be to the council in September to give you an update on kind of how that community engagement is shaping up and concepts and ideas for Artesian Commons, so we can start to put together a work plan that we can start to implement going into the new year. I think, council has had this as a priority to get the gentleman called it ugly cyclone fencing. I can't disagree with that description of it, to get that removed and get a better use of that lot. So we're gonna make some movement this year and then see where we can get moving forward.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that takes us to adoption of the consent calendar. I need a motion and a second.
Move to adopt the consent calendar.
All right. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any requests for polls for questions or comment? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent calendar is adopted. So that takes us to one of three public hearings that we have for tonight, beginning with item 5A on the agenda, which is a public hearing on the master use permit for Easy Fiber. And we have Jeff Johnston, who's a project engineer, presenting tonight. Hi, Jeff.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the record, I'm Jeff Johnstone, City Engineer, Public Works Engineering. So I'm here tonight to talk about, or for a public hearing about Easy Fiber's request for a master use permit. Just some general oversight and background. Private utilities are regulated on several levels. On the federal and state levels, oversight is provided by the FCC and Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission. The Olympia Municipal Code Title 11 and our design and development standards also provide guidance about private telecommunication facilities. Master permits are granted via ordinance and have per the requirements in Chapter 11.06 of the OMC. The term of the master permit is 5 years, and permit fees associated with this are covered in Chapter 4.04 of the OMC. This slide provides a little background about Easy Fiber. Per their application, they are a rapidly growing Houston-based telecommunications company. They will provide internet service to residents, businesses, and government customers. Their services will include telecommunications, private lines, and internet access. Their proposed service area is basically the entire city. So that's what they're shooting for. We'll get more detail if this is approved and moves forward on their build-out map later in the process, but that's their plan, is to cover the entire city. This is an example cross-section of a city street. It shows that there are competing interests under our streets, including city-owned utilities like water, wastewater, stormwater, and there's also private utilities like PSC Power, PSC Gas, and other telecommunication companies. Easy Fiber is proposing an entirely underground installation of their infrastructure. They'll install their own conduits underground and pull fiber through them. Their application stated that they will not rely on any existing infrastructure for the build out of their system. So it'll all be brand new Easy Fiber infrastructure. And that's it. So pretty short and sweet. Good stuff, huh? So thanks for your time. I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Wow.
I know. Hey, that's
so thorough, Jeff.
Yeah, it's turn and burn, folks. Beautiful. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions or comments from the dais? Councilmember Gilman.
Yes, I'm the talkative one tonight. Two things I wondered about. One is whether we just have an obligation to review permits for their compliance with our ED standards, or does the city have some sort of regulate competition kind of authority?
So we do have to, I think I understand your question.
Is it like citing a hospital where we're the body that decides if there's an adequate need? Or are we simply saying that they'll follow our standards in constructing this infrastructure?
Yeah, so yes to the latter, basically, is we have to consider their application because they're a telecommunications company. So, and we've vetted that application and seen that they do meet the requirements. And at that point, if this master use permit is approved and we move forward with it, then they'll submit engineering drawings for the build out of their system. And that'll be our input, or our chance to give input on where things are located, how things are restored, and basically to follow our ED standards.
Great. And then just sort of a question, sort of a comment.
Yep.
So I'm not tickled with the way, as we've been requiring undergrounding electricity projects, that the asphalt patches, I don't think are holding up our pavement preservation hopes. They're making reverse speed bumps all through town. So as we negotiate this, which would be a major disruption, a lot of it outside of the lanes of travel, but still a lot of holes. A lot of holes.
Yep.
I would hope that we would not allow an asphalt patch over that, or we'd require some sort of visit again in a year and top up whatever you do, something. Okay. So that we have, we don't get a diminished quality of our own pavement.
Absolutely. Understood. And I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, additional comments or questions? Councilmember Barron.
Thank you. This is really kind of a question more for Jay, I think. Being the newest member of the council, maybe there's been discussions about the fiber network in the city that I've been not privy to. But have we entered into a license agreement with Easy Fiber, or is that even something that we can do? There are other fiber companies. I just wanted to have a greater understanding about the business of the fiber license. Obviously, I understand the benefit of fiber to a community, but I just wanted to have a deeper understanding of where we're heading with this.
Yeah, thank you. Right now, our process is the master use permit process. We don't have a licensing structure, any of those things. We have the latest other fiber company, internet provider was Ziply, which the council approved, and they're underway with their work, and so Easy Fiber has come to town. But outside the master use permit, that's our process for providers to come into our community and ask for permission to provide service here.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. If there's no further questions, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on the master use permit for Easy Fiber. All right, we do not have anybody who is signed up in advance to testify for this hearing, so it is our custom to open it up to those who are present in chamber who wish to testify. Now is your opportunity to do so. Is there anyone present that wishes to testify? All right, going once, going twice. At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing on the master use permit for Easy Fiber. So that takes us to our next public hearing on the agenda, which is a hearing on the substantial amendment to the 2023-2027 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan. And we have Anastasia Everett presenting.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I think the last item required a motion to move it forward to.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that catch. Yes, so at this time, I need a motion to grant master use permit for Easy Fiber.
It would be to return with the proposed ordinance.
Yes.
I move that we return with a proposed ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, so now we will continue with our hearing on the substantial amendment to the 2023-2027 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan. And we have Anastasia Everett, who is our Senior Housing Program Specialist, presenting tonight.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council members. For the record, my name is Anastasia Everett with the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. This is the first of two public hearings scheduled for this evening for CDBG. This is on the proposed substantial amendment to the city's consolidated plan. The consolidated plan is the blueprint for the city's Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program. It outlines the 5-year strategic goals and priorities which are identified during the rigorous public participation process involved in creating the plan. When the city wishes to make a change that is considered substantial to the consolidated plan, we must follow the process outlined in our public participation plan. The process includes a public hearing and a 30-day public comment period, and this allows residents to review and comment on the proposed changes. The proposed changes are related to the city's revolving loan fund and rental rehabilitation program. The funds for the rental rehabilitation program originate from existing CDBG loans. The program currently diverts rental rehabilitation payments into the revolving loan fund for new rental rehabilitation projects and applies payments from single-family rehabilitation loan payoffs to the program income bucket, which can be applied to any activity that's identified in the annual action plan as a contingency project. The proposed amendment is to dissolve the revolving loan fund and rental rehabilitation program and recombine both sources of income to be treated as program income. This funding can then be used for activities identified in each year's annual action plan. There are significant challenges to supporting the rental rehabilitation program. Staff lack the capacity and resources to compliantly manage the rehabilitation projects, which are pretty big, and they're completed in-house and in tandem with the whole CDBG program, including subrecipient activities. And since the beginning of the program in 2021, 2 projects have been completed, and there's one underway, and we've been working on that for about 3 years with the property owner, and that's the rehabilitation of a 12-unit affordable multifamily property. Another challenge with the program is related to timely spend down. Due to the complexities of the regulations and completing the large projects, it takes a significant amount of time for each project from beginning to end. And the delay in spend down impacts our CDBG timeliness. The city works efficiently with our subrecipients on our entitlement awards annually, and we're able to spend down our regular entitlement award very quickly. And the rental rehabilitation funding is really the only impediment to our timeliness every year. Currently, there's just over $285,000 in the revolving loan fund. The recommendation to dissolve the program and fund allows $35,000 of unallocated funds to be applied towards the contingency projects in the annual action plan. And there's $250,000 allocated to the current project that is underway. And the public comment period for the substantial amendment is open until July 9th, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. All right, are there any questions from council? Councilmember Vanderpool.
I'm just going to ask this because when I hear the word dissolve, I'm going to hear about it and going to get questions about what that means. So I guess, I'm hearing a little bit about capacity. I'm hearing a little bit about some of the regulatory barriers that make it difficult to do. On the ground level, as we reallocate these funds, it's not the amount of money is going away; it's just being reallocated to something else. Correct?
Correct. Yes.
On the could you give me an example of what that would look like for the public to understand? Like instead of being used for some sort of one type of project, what type of project could it be used for?
Sure. So instead of going to the city's in-house rental rehab program, that funding will go towards, for instance, this year, our contingency projects are single-family rehab. by Rebuilding Together Thurston County, as well as Habitat for Humanity, and then also the Energize Thurston campaign. So this money is getting spent quicker, and it's going to housing preservation as well for low-income, moderate-income homeowners.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it because at first I saw dissolve,
Yeah.
like flickered off, and I was like, what is this? So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Thank you, Anastasia. I just have a curiosity question.
Sure.
The 3 projects in about 5 years, is that, do you think primarily because of the complexity, or is there also just sort of lack of demand? Like, were there more people who wanted to do it and just couldn't?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's a mix of things. It's a slow process. It's just me on CDBG doing the regular entitlement program too. And then when I'm meeting up with these property owners, when they're learning about kind of the regulations, a big one is lead-based paint. It's like, it's expensive to go through, and like, are some of the projects going to displace their tenants potentially, which is a whole nother thing. So I think that sometimes property owners got a little overwhelmed by the regulations. And then otherwise, you know, it's kind of like a speed thing. It just, unfortunately, is a program that doesn't seem like it's pulling its weight with the funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
So I'm really excited about any kind of measures to stabilize existing affordable housing. And this was an effort I had hopes for, but I think what I'm hearing is the wisdom is that we have several nonprofits who manage the rehab and maintenance of long-term affordable housing, and they can play by these federal grants. It's kind of like some of our transportation projects where there's federal money, but it's so complicated to take it and spend it that it either has to be on a big project or we don't do it. Anyhow, I appreciate this. Is that a fair characterization of?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. This is going to create a lot of capacity for our CDBG program when we're having this funding being spent by the subrecipients who have like the expertise. And then that funding will be available as well during our RFP process in the future. So other nonprofits can potentially collaborate with like private affordable housing owners if they want to rehab their rental properties.
And this may come up in your next presentation, but there was $285,000 in income from loans being repaid this year?
No, that's the funding that is in the revolving loan fund bucket right now has been being collected over the last 5 years since we reinstated it.
Sure.
And so far, I think we've spent down about 80,000, and so there's this 285 remaining.
And do you have some idea of how much additional loan repayments are coming in the next few years?
That's something that's really difficult about the CDBG program and our program income. We are a community, not a lot of CDBG communities have program income, so it's a really special thing, but it's very difficult to plan around because, for instance, when the interest rates were really low during COVID, we received a lot of payoff requests from people that are wanting to refinance their home. So we can get anywhere between $30,000 and maybe $200,000 a year in payments. And it's really difficult to just contract out directly. So because we can't count on it, so having the contingency projects available that we can work with those subrecipients gives it a home.
Thank you, Anastasia. That really helps me understand why it's more efficient to be able to apply it to our regular program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Anastasia. All right, so at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on a substantial amendment to the 2023-2027 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan. Again, we don't have anybody who signed up in advance who wishes to testify. As I said before, it is our custom. If you wish to do so, now is your opportunity to testify here in the chambers. Otherwise, there is written public comment that you are able to submit up until July 9th, correct? All right. Seeing none, there is no requested action on this, and so we're going to go ahead and just proceed. So, thank you.
Yes.
And at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing on a substantial amendment to the 2023-2027 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan. All right, and that takes us to our final hearing for tonight, which is on the program year 2026 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. And we're welcoming back Anastasia Everett to present on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am grateful for this opportunity to present on the program year 2026 Annual Action Plan. This would have been good in the first one, I'm realizing, a little background about the program. But it's federally funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and each year as an entitlement community, the city receives an allocation based on our population demographics. And the grant regulations are flexible, and they allow the funding of a variety of activities. Eligible activities are listed here and include rehabilitation, economic development, micro-enterprise assistance, and acquisition of property. Eligible activities must also meet a national objective. The city's programs primarily funds activities that benefit low and moderate income residents. The other national objectives are slum blight removal and urgent need, which have funding caps related to grant expenditures. The city's available resources for program year 2026 are our entitlement award of $376,415, which is also about $30,000 more than it has been in the past, which is exciting. The revolving loan fund unallocated funding of $35,176 and $250,000 of revolving loan funds being carried forward to the current project underway, which brings our total to $661,591. The program year 2026 funding recommendations are listed here. More information about each program can be found in the attachments to the agenda packet for the staff report. And the majority of the funding is allocated for the preservation of housing for low and moderate income homeowners within the city, and these allocations align with our consolidated plan priorities. The recommended contingency projects for program year 2026 are all rehabilitation. Contingency projects are funded in the event of a canceled project or receipt of program income. And contingency projects can change every year during the annual action plan process. In program year 2025, HUD issued the city a grant agreement requiring compliance with new executive orders related to DEI, immigration, and other social policies. These orders do not align with the city's values and codes. The city joined the King County v. Turner lawsuit in 2025. As a named plaintiff in this suit, the city is included in the preliminary injunction issued by the court, which blocks HUD from enforcing these new grant conditions. HUD does have an appeal active in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. If the injunction is overturned, HUD would have the authority to issue the city a new grant agreement requiring compliance with the policies reflected in the executive orders. And staff have been communicating with all of the proposed subrecipients on the risks around the funding for the next year. And next is our timeline. Staff presented the recommendations to the Community Livability and Public Safety Committee at the May 27th meeting, and the committee voted to recommend the plan and awards to the full City Council for consideration of approval. Tonight is the public hearing, and the public comment period is open until July 9th, and I will return for consideration of approval at the July 14th regular City Council meeting. And I am now available for any questions, and thank you.
Thank you again. All right. Any questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
is not a question, and you've heard it before, but I said this when you came to community livability and public safety, and I just want to say it again so you get to hear it again, and all these other people do too, is that I just really, really appreciate you holding it down in CDBG, especially when, just like your presentation said, it's faced a lot of challenges. And so, yeah, it is just you there, and what a mighty you are, and we're really lucky to have you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, well said. Thank you. All right, so at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on the program year 2026 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. And like the last two hearings, there is no one signed up in advance to testify. So once again, I will open it up to anyone who's present who wishes to do so. Now is your time. All right. Going once and going twice. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing on the program year 2026 CDBG Annual Action Plan. And this also does not require any actions, so we will move on to our next agenda item. Thank you, Anastasia. Have a good night. All right, so we are going to move on to our only business item for tonight, which is a briefing on the October 2025 Critical Incident Review Community Representative role. And we have our Deputy Chief of the Olympia Police Department, Ray Brady, here to kick us off.
Good evening, Mayor Payne and City Council members. I'm Ray Brady, Deputy Chief with the Police Department. Tonight, I will review the department's internal review process and summarize an Olympia Police Sergeant's use of deadly force that occurred on October 21st, 2025. You also hear from two members of our Olympia community representatives, Robin Rosen-Evans and Lisa Osler, who participated in the Use of Force Review Board. So on October 21st of 2025 at approximately 3:15 in the afternoon, Olympia police officers were dispatched to an unknown trouble at a residence located on 6th Avenue Northwest. Officers responded to the scene and located the subject of the 911 calls. During the contact, a deadly force encounter occurred. Officers immediately began providing medical aid and were assisted by the fire department and medics, and the community member survived their injuries. Within minutes, the Capital Metro Independent Investigative Team, known as CMIIT, responded to the scene and assumed the investigation. Per state law, policy, and procedures, Olympia Police Department members did not participate in this investigation. The team was led by the Lacey Police Department. Two non-law enforcement Olympia community representatives responded to the scene and observed the investigation consistent with the direction put forth in our Washington Administrative Code. These were different community representatives than those who participated in our review board that you'll hear from tonight. Involved members of the department were placed on administrative leave per OPD policy. The Capital Metro Independent Investigative Team completed their investigation in January of 2026, and the case was forwarded to the Thurston County Prosecuting Attorney's Office for review on January 29th of 2026. On March 8th of 2026, the Thurston County Prosecutor John Thunheim provided his review of the case. Prosecutor Thunheim concluded that the sergeant's actions were justified under Washington state law. The Thurston County Prosecutor informed the Chief of Police that the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office would not be pursuing criminal charges in this case. OPG objectively evaluates the use of force by its members to ensure that their authority is used lawfully, appropriately, and is consistent with training and policy. Per OPD policy, a use of force review board was convened. The board's composition is dictated by policy and is comprised of the following members: a lieutenant in the involved member's chain of command, a training sergeant, a patrol sergeant, a patrol tactics instructor, an officer selected by the involved officer, a sworn peace officer from an outside law enforcement agency, a department instructor for the type of weapon that was used in the incident, and two community representatives. Having community representatives as voting members on the Use of Force Review Board serves several important purposes. First is transparency and accountability. Including community representatives promotes transparency, showing the community that the department is committed to accountability and use of force incidents. It builds trust by allowing an outside perspective to participate in the review process. Provides the community perspective. The community members can offer insights into how the use of force might be perceived by the community. Their perspective can help the board consider the broader impact of policing actions on community relations. They provide impartiality. The community members can serve as a neutral voice, helping to ensure that reviews are balanced and not solely influenced by law enforcement perspectives. Improved policies. With informed community members on the board, the department may be better equipped to develop policies that reflect community expectations and values. This can lead to the adoption of practices that both enhance officer safety and build community trust. Education and engagement. The community members also gain insight into the challenges and decision-making involved in law enforcement, which they can share with the community to foster understanding and dialogue around policing practices. The Use of Force Review Board is responsible for reviewing the circumstances surrounding any use of force that results in great bodily harm, death, or an officer's intentional discharge of a firearm. The board is responsible for determining if the officer's actions were within department policy and training. Members of the board were provided the entire case file to include witness statements, involved officer statements, police reports, photographs, video, dispatch records, and lab reports. Board members were also provided with applicable OPD policies, including the use of force policy, the use of force review board policy, and officer-involved shootings policy. The board convened over 2 days on April 23rd and 24th of 2026. The Capital Metro Independent Investigative Team presented the investigation to the board and answered questions. Subsequently, each member who was involved in the case appeared in front of the board. Board members asked questions of each member to further understand their understanding of the incident. At the conclusion of 2 days, the board concluded that the officers or the sergeant's actions were within department policy and training. The Olympia Police Department continually seeks opportunities to improve. Per policy, board members may recommend a review of policy and training. Board members made 2 recommendations to policy in the area of policy and procedure. The first recommendation was to lobby for more treatment facilities and mental health resources. It's well established that there's a lack of adequate facilities available for treatment for community members in crisis. Any changes to the availability would require commitment at the state level. OPD in the city can work with the state to develop policy level changes around community safety related to individuals who are in crisis. Specifically, the board recommended the opportunity for more facilities to treat individuals in active crisis. The second is to update our public safety statement. OPD supervisors obtain a public safety statement from officers after deadly force is used. The purpose of a public safety statement is to ensure that the department knows the directions that rounds were fired, if there were rounds that were fired, if any community members may be injured, to identify evidence critical to the event, and identify witnesses who may have observed the incident. Supervisors read questions from an OPD public safety statement card to ensure they obtain the necessary information. It was identified that the current public safety statement card that we were using at the time lacks the language necessary to establish the officer's statement as a compelled statement. Board members recommended that the current public safety statement card be updated to include language more in line with a compelled statement, and OPD has now already completed this revision of that public safety statement card. Next, the board members made 6 recommendations to our training. The first is the rank when requesting a public safety statement. It was identified that a higher ranking member should deliver the public safety statement. To request to notify lieutenants that they may be contacted by phone if they're not working at the time the incident occurs, to request the public safety statement should a sergeant be involved in the deadly use of force. Board members recommended training lieutenants to be prepared to provide a public safety statement via phone if and when necessary, and that training's already been completed. Next is training on moving targets. OPD officers train using their taser energy weapons and firearms throughout the year. Incorporating movement drills while training on these platforms has occurred during OPD training in the past. It was identified that increased training when deploying at moving targets with both less lethal and lethal weapons would be beneficial. The board members recommended increasing training for both lethal and non-lethal weapons utilizing moving targets. Third was to establish probable cause or reasonable suspicion as quickly as possible. OPD officers frequently make quick decisions during escalating events to determine if a crime has been committed or if a subject meets the criteria for detention under reasonable suspicion. This often requires quickly gathering information to decide and to be able to relay that information to other officers on the call. Board members recommend training staff to quickly establish probable cause or reasonable suspicion when feasible and provide notifications to others already on scene. The fourth is training funds and hours. OPD members are required to have at least 24 hours of training per year by Criminal Justice Training Commission or CJTC. OPD members typically receive training opportunities in excess of 80 hours of training per year or more. The requirements from the state for increased training courses that are required continue to increase every year, which requires OPD to prioritize those mandatory training courses over other training opportunities. OPD recognizes the need for additional training hours and funding for those training courses in order to stay at the forefront of training for the best possible outcomes. Board members recommended increasing training funding and hours to provide a greater variety of reality-based training as appropriate. The fifth, training community members or outside agency representatives for the Use of Force Review Board. The Use of Force Review Board has 2 community representatives and 1 outside law enforcement agency representative. In preparation for the board, an online training was provided to go over the board roles and to provide all of the information for review. This training did not include things like equipment familiarization, vehicle displays, or other site visits. Many of these things were shown and explained during the 2 days that we held the board, but members felt that they could have benefited from additional training prior to the officers testifying before the board. Board members recommended providing more orientation training with the community representatives and outside law enforcement representative to include things like equipment descriptions, vehicle setups, uniform descriptions, TCOM, which is our dispatch center visits, location visits, and others when preparing for the review boards. And finally, the sixth in training, OPD is related to officer positioning. OPD training frequently addresses finding or moving to cover when using lethal or less lethal tools, but there's a recognition that additional training might be necessary, specifically when providing lethal cover for those utilizing less lethal tools. Board members recommended increasing training regarding positioning and awareness when officers are using different lethal or non-lethal weapons. An example, the best location to stand or find cover. The board members made 2 recommendations for equipment. The first is in less lethal equipment. OPD has multiple less lethal platforms available to its officers in the field. These platforms include the Taser 10, which was the Taser 7 at the time of this incident, shotguns that are loaded with beanbag munitions, and 40 millimeter launchers with crushable foam-tipped impact rounds. All officers carry a taser. Every patrol vehicle has a shotgun loaded with beanbag munitions. And some officers have a bowler wrap device, and the sergeant's vehicles are equipped with a 40 millimeter launcher with crushable foam-tipped impact rounds. As of now, all of our vehicles are now equipped with a 40 millimeter launcher, but not at the time of this incident. OPD strives to be at the forefront of utilizing new technology and should always find ways to acquire new, less lethal technology as it becomes available. The board members recommended looking at ways to constantly be reviewing and looking for new, less lethal tools and to find funding for those tools as appropriate, as well as more training rounds for those less lethal devices. The second is hailing script card in vehicles. OPD routinely utilizes the in-vehicle public address system, or PA system, to communicate with subjects in various situations where amplified communication is necessary. During the course of the Use of Force Review Board, it was identified that OPD does not have currently a standardized communication protocol for hailing subjects. Board members recommend the development of a standard laminated reference card to be placed in the rear of the patrol vehicle near the hailing microphone. The purpose of the card is to promote clear, consistent, and legally sound communication during field operations. We're actively working on implementing this, and those cards have been created or are currently being installed in our vehicles. Next, I would like to have Lisa and Robin come up and have them talk a little bit about their experience on the board. And I just want to, I'll thank them again, but just a quick opportunity as they come up to say thank you for their time serving.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Hi, good evening. So my name is Lisa Osler. So I actually wrote a couple notes. First off, I just wanted to, I appreciated taking part in this. I didn't have any kind of wisdom prior, so learning about the process was really helpful, but also sitting in a room with all the officers and just hearing about their experiences as well as their emotions was really beneficial. I was really welcomed. I was encouraged to share, not just as a community member, but also my professional expertise. So in my line of work, I work in like review, and the main view or what we're trying to do is not create blame or shame. Change doesn't come from that, and I really felt that that was uplifted in the room with the team that we had, and as well with the recommendations that came out of that. My biggest concern moving forward and out of this 2-day review is just that this specific incident occurring again due to our lack of mental health care in our city and the extended wait time. So I just wanted to stress that. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Robin.
Hello, Robin Rosen Evans, and I have just a couple of things. First, I would like to say that the whole presentation was put together very well. It was very easy to follow. Now, I have a background in criminal justice, so I'm a little more clued in, but even someone who had no background in criminal justice would be able to follow the chain of events that occurred and what steps the officers took. It was very well put together, and I commend Deputy Chief Brady on that. Also, Lisa and I were the only non-law enforcement people in the room, and we felt, or as Lisa said, we felt very welcomed. We were able to ask a lot of questions, and everyone in the room was able to respond, and they responded very patiently and in a lot of detail. And I think it's very important that the community understands the amount of detail and the effort that was placed on this review process internally through OPD, because this case was very clear-cut. The officers did what they had to do. It was a very unfortunate situation, dealing with a mental health crisis by a person in the community. But in the future, there will be times, there will be incidents that are not as clear-cut. And there needs to be, hopefully, a reservoir of trust between the city, the citizens of the city, and the police department. And I think you begin that with what we took part in, where we saw what they did, how the attention to detail, the attention to getting it right. And if there's some way for this to be communicated to the community at large, I think that that will go a long way to benefit the community and the police department in the future when something unfortunate happens again, which we know it will, because that's just the way things work. Thank you.
All All right, I just once again want to say thank you to Robin and Lisa, our community representatives and members of our community policing board for their time. The amount of material that they were given, that everyone was given to review on this was extensive. So days and days and days of advanced research going up to this 2-day event that they also had to be there all day for both 2 days. So just want to say a special thank you to them for their involvement in that. And that concludes my portion of this. I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief, and thank you to our community representatives. We appreciate your work and your service and your time dedicated to it, so thank you. Any comments from council? Councilmember Madrone.
Deputy Chief, thank you so much for the briefing this evening. It's not the first time that we've gotten this kind of briefing in terms of deadly use of force, and it's always unfortunate when it has to happen, but I'm really pleased to see how we are continuing to refine how we respond and how the information is brought forward to council so that we are kept in the loop on how when something happens in the community and how things are changing as a result of that. And hi, Lisa. Hi, Robin. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you for your work to respond to this incident. Really, really grateful for the thoughtful recommendations that you and others helped to bring forward. And I really appreciate the statement about how these kinds of incidents, this is a particularly clear-cut incident, but by going through all the motions that we did to be sure that it was clear-cut and that several different bodies landed in the right place, in the same place, builds that trust over time, so that if there is an incident in the future where it's not as clear-cut, those relationships are established, the process is established, and the community at large can have faith in that we're going about it in the right way. And also, Robin, you were speaking about communications. In the beginning of this meeting, the assistant city manager introduced our new communications director, and between this meeting and the council dinner we had earlier, he's already got a long list of things to do. So I think he's going to be adding. Yep, I see him over there. Hi. So he's got his work cut out for him, but we're excited to have him on board and looking forward to some good coordination there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Madrone, additional comments from council? Seeing none. So just thank you again. And I will share, I appreciate the board's recommendations, specifically around additional mental health resources. It is something that is on our legislative agenda each year. It has been for several years in a row now. But it does make me think about how can we drill down on that and maybe get a little bit more specific about what those needs are, because we sort of just kind of keep it a little bit more general on our legislative agenda. But if we could drill down and really analyze these situations and identify what those specific needs are, I think that could also help. So I just appreciate your time and your commitment to doing this. So thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So that is our only business item for tonight. So we are going to go ahead and move on to council reports. I'll begin with just a brief mayor's report. I do want to share that the Opioid Abatement Council met, and the last we spoke, we were talking about our RFP process, and we had approved a use of 50% of our funds to go towards the allocation for the county, which ended up being about $2 million for the RFP process. We received a little over $4 million in requests for the funding, with 14 proposals that were received. So obviously not everyone was selected. The way that was determined is the county hired or appointed rather separate or independent scorers who used a scoring matrix to determine who would ultimately rise to the top in terms of recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for funding. Those we ended up selecting and moving forward were Catholic Community Services for peer outreach and their peer outreach and response team, NAMI, or the National Alliance for Mental Health Institute, which their stigma reduction program, Interfaith Works for Peer Navigator program, Peer Washington for their peer coach training, Pac Mountain for their reentry stabilization and recovery coordination, Capital Recovery Center for the underserved mental health services expansion, and finally Medic One with pre-hospital opioid response. So those are the programs that were recommended to move forward to the board for approval, which brought the total to just over $2 million in $814. And so there were a number of proposals that were not selected, and some of them we felt could use a little bit more work. And so in the interim period going into next year, folks at the county will be working with folks on how they can maybe brush up those applications and see how they can do in the next round. And of course, this is all pending board approval by the county commission. And so we are very much looking forward to their approval and then getting this funding out the door. But that's the latest on that. And so I just appreciate all of your support and your approval of using the 50% of our allocation to contribute to this. And if you want more details, just let me know and I'm happy to provide them. And then lastly, I've attended several events over the last several weeks, and I'm not going to cover them all, but there's a few that stick out for me really specifically, beginning with delivering the commencement address for the Evergreen State College, which was incredibly amazing opportunity that I got to do, and it was such a huge honor to be voted by the undergraduate class and to go back and speak. It turned out to be such a lovely day. I joke and say that I got the trustee bug that day. So when I grow up, I may want to be a trustee. I really enjoyed the day, and I just thank President Carmichael and all of the administrative staff at the Evergreen State College for engaging with the city and also just making sure everything went smoothly and all the preparation that went into that. And obviously, we want to thank the graduates and congratulations to them on receiving their diplomas for 2026. And so, again, thank you, Evergreen, for having me, and I always look forward to coming back. And then lastly, I'll just cover, there's so many things that I did this past couple of weeks, but yesterday, actually, got the opportunity to participate in the Peace Run that has made its way from New York all the way back down here to Washington, and they're on their way back to New York. And so they stopped here at City Hall yesterday, and they gave us the opportunity to hold the torch. So myself and Melissa and Stacy and Margot, we were all out there, and we got an opportunity to speak with them and meet folks. We had folks from Indonesia, Austria, Hungary, Mexico, New York, California. Really wonderful to see people who are out there spreading the message of peace and wanting us to join them in that effort. And so they made Olympia, Washington one of their stops. Once again, they've been here before. And so that was really cool. And I did take a symbolic run up the block here down 4th Ave. and stopped up by the fueling station. That's as far as I could go in a suit. But but it was just really cool to get that opportunity to lend our voice to the efforts of spreading peace around the globe. And so I thank them for stopping and hope they come back next time. And then, of course, Juneteenth was always really wonderful. And I thank Krishita Begum for at the Asho Cultural Center for partnering with the city of Olympia, who put on a really wonderful Juneteenth celebration event. And so looking forward to next year's festivities as well, and looking forward to Capital City Pride this weekend. So yes, Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Go Gooey Ducks.
Go Gooey Ducks. I think there's like 5 of the 7 of us up here. All right. I'm going to start to my right with Councilmember Madrone.
Nothing to report.
All right. Councilmember Vanderpool.
Since last meeting, we had a land use special meeting. It was about 2.5 hours or so, conversation with the Northwest Cooperative Center, the Housing Land Trust, and a representative from the housing program at the Department of Commerce. This was about tenant and community opportunity purchase. There was lots of notes. It was a very informative conversation. Some of the things that kind of stuck out were on the recommendations were such things as, and points of view were things like upfront capital for projects is kind of the biggest investment, the biggest threshold for making to do the conversion, and then there were even recommendations as detailed as how many folks you would want to bring into the process, and the first conversation, and how it takes time to get members on board, or folks that would be converting from a typical multifamily to a cooperative or a land trust, and all those little details. It was a very informative conversation. And then last Friday at the Intercity Transit Authority, we had a retreat. We looked at a lot of systems stuff, a lot of questions about our systems update as we hear from folks. Staff mentioned there's a focus on getting the frequency right, getting the buses showing up when they're supposed to on time, because a lot of the transfer system relies heavily on that. That's what the primary focus is, to get that timing down so that folks feel more confident with the new system. And then from there, we'll start looking at our options. And that's where their primary focus is right now. Still getting questions every so often and forwarding it to the staff there. And then we also had an interesting conversation. I didn't realize this, that our fare collection, not doing fare, was still a pilot. I didn't realize that, even though it's been like years. And so we had a whole conversation about that, about how long do we have, how many quarters do we need, how many months do we need to review that process. And me and then a couple other members kind of just recommended that we don't put a lot of effort into studying it, because it is probably one of the most resounding successes in the community. To rebuild a system, to switch to like an Orca card system would cost so much money and so much time, and it's one of the things that people are like feel the most pride in, the fact that I can just hop on the bus and not have to worry about money, change, tapping a card. The fact that we can do that and operate is something that a lot of other systems struggle to even get to having that conversation. And then also, I met with some folks this last week on Phones Road. The buzzing noises have come back. There's been concerns, was this a couple years ago, about noises coming from potentially one of the warehouses at the opposite end of Phones. And I actually heard it myself, and I went, and it was on a second floor building. But the interesting thing is I didn't hear it on the bottom floor. So I've already told the city manager about it, and I'm not sure if code enforcement might be going out. Check it out. It's weird. It's strange, because you don't notice it at first until you like just sit still and you can hear it coming in. So I can see why residents it's driving crazy, because you don't really hear it when you're down on street level, but if you're just a little off the ground, you can hear it. So something is coming down, and it's kind of a weird thing. But anyway, I want to mention that I met with the folks that emailed us about that. And then we mentioned this at dinner, but I'm just going to mention it to the public in case they haven't gotten the news. The county commissioners this afternoon voted to move forward the homeless services fund, so it will be available. It's not going to. It will not expire. It's been passed, so that the funding will go through. It's not going to. So just for folks out there that may have not gotten the news, I just wanted to say that we avoided that cliff of July 1st. So, all right, have a good one.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Vanderpool? Yes, City Manager Bernie.
I never do this, but I just want to thank Councilmember Vanderpool for his personal leadership with the RHC and helping to pull together and working with county staff an emergency meeting, working through that meeting with a lot of really important conversation that individuals need to have and doing it with a lot of grace. And so I just want to thank him for his work to get this done and get it off to the commission. So thank you.
Okay. I appreciate that, Jay, but I also want to, I think it's good to thank the staff at the county. The housing director is on vacation. I hope that Tom did not check in on any of this while he was on vacation. Maybe just a little bit of burning behind his ear when I brought him up a couple times. But the fact that staff, the day that it got pushed back last Tuesday, back to RHC, we're emailing and checking in and calling people and doing all of that, plus all the other work that they're doing, is much appreciated. So.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I'm also very, very pleased and excited that the home fund allocations are going to head back out, and I appreciate the work of everybody who did extra over the last few days. Good questions were raised, but better addressed across the next year rather than across the weekend. So I had the opportunity to meet with Natalie Beatty from Familiar Faces. I've been trying to get an update on how does coordinated entry work at this point in time. What are we're using something called the HEAT index to sort of rate the vulnerability of different folks. So I wanted to learn about those things, and two takeaways. One is that Familiar Faces does less driving people all over the state to get into inpatient treatment because we have multiple outpatient medically assisted treatment options within the community now. That new capacity is helping a great deal, particularly with people with opioid issues. And then her experience is that in housing, there's still little to offer, and they can work with somebody who they're working with intensively for months or for a year, trying to get them into stable housing. So that was helpful for me, and I'm going to continue to try to update myself because I know that those systems, continually evolve. The other issue I wanted to bring, I also had a constituent visit and take me on a little tour, and that was at the intersection at 4th and Plum just up here. It's particularly difficult with the new separated bike lane parking and change in the lanes of travel for a bicycle to navigate. And it's compounded by the fact that the paving and painting is not completed yet. And so I'm hoping to learn more. The official response from the city to this person's concern was that it'll be another 2 to 3 months before the paving and painting is in. And that will be several months of a just ambiguous a little stretch of road for both cars and bikes to travel through. So I wanted to highlight that because I thought that was a pretty reasonable concern for somebody to tour me through. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Councilmember Gilman? Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Seeing none. All right. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Just doing my thing, no reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you. I'll try to click through this quickly. I took a tour with Keith with Familiar Faces, and of the tiny home villages and several of the transitional housing projects in the city, and got a good briefing on the challenges that they're facing, and great inspirational stories about the great work they're doing. And I think it's ever important to keep that on the front burner, and I intend to do so. I attended the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting, and they had a great presentation on park rangers. And I don't have that, but I'm going to get the PowerPoint and forward it to all of the members of the council, so you have that. We have a great park ranger program. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but they're essentially like law enforcement, policing the parks. And they had, what I really wanted to share with you is there was a compilation of statistics on various activities that the rangers conducted that I thought were very, was very informative. Anyway, I too want to voice my appreciation to Robert for his work on the RHC, and I attend these meetings. I don't say much, but I absolutely feel everything that is being done there is critical to our community. That this was this issue that worked through, Robert and others worked through this last week was so important to Olympia, because we shoulder so much of the responsibility of the work of the RHC that I just can't communicate how important that work is, and to our community and to all of Thurston County, really, and it's underappreciated by many. I toured the International Paper Plant in Lacey today through Orca. They do inspections. This was a Lacey thing, but it was most informative. Orca does a lot of work on clean air. We have many facilities in the city of Olympia, that are very important. But I'm really trying to fully embrace the benefits of the work they do for clean air in our community, and learning the nuances of every part of the community. Other than that, I also been talking to people about crosswalks in Southeast Olympia. We're hoping to get one or two more. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Councilmember Barrett? Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool.
Have you had a chance to, I know we do our own transportation collaboration meetings, and they're pretty full right now with looking at traffic calming and traffic cameras with school zones and all various things. But have you had a chance to go reach out to Sophie or Mark about the crosswalks, particular crosswalks that you're interested in?
I haven't. That's good.
Okay.
That's good advice. I have talked to Jay, and he's kind of helping me work through this process.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think it's just what I've personally observed is that there are kind of heavily used streets that don't have crosswalks. I don't think anyone's overlooking anything. That things change, patterns change quickly, and but that's good advice, and I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, because with next year's transportation master plan update, I think it's very important to get even the most details of where we have concerns. Yeah.
Great.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Barrett, your mic. Yep. Before I move on to the city manager, I just want to say, Councilmember Vanderpool, thank you. I want to jump on the gratitude train as well. But you and I have had conversations, and I also want to acknowledge the fact that you are looking at work moving forward with some of the questions or the concerns that Mayor Dahlhoff has, and you want to find a path forward and in process improvement and do that work so that we work together as a region. So I also just wanted to state that as well, and thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I appreciate that. I've heard from, I hear from folks all about, I hear a lot of opinions about the RHC, Regional Housing Council. And I think that even though there is a lot of differing views that you get as chair, I do think that there's an interest in making sure the organization is successful and continues to try to meet the needs of the community around housing. And I am trying. I think to be optimistic is very important, especially while there's a lot of there's an attention to get into the personal and the political and get dragged into it. But I think it's very, very important to sit back and just kind of like wait and think about things, but also ensure that folks feel that they have confidence in the organization, right? Because I want all the members to feel confident in their vote, right, at the end of the day. And I know that there's going to be some political differences and philosophical differences about what we do with what money and this and that, and that's always going to happen. But I think what is really important is just strengthen the structure of the organization. And so that when we do need to take on more tasks in the future, whether it's policy or affordable housing or other things, the main function is strong enough where both the members and then the staffing structure and the funding is there. And I also would like to have one meeting a month and not have extra meetings with it, because I will admit I had multiple dreams about the RHC over the weekend, and I think that's unhealthy. To have this same recurring dream about how to run a meeting is just not what I want when I close my eyes at night. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I also, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the World Cup Fan Zone that took place on Friday the 19th, and what an amazing turnout we had. I believe it was over 2,000 people that showed up, and everybody celebrated. USA, go USA, we won. But sincere gratitude to everybody who was just there, who turned out to celebrate in good spirits, enjoyed the event, and did so safely. So we appreciate it, and we're looking forward to more gatherings in the coming days. So, City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item, you mentioned Pride Weekend this weekend, so just real quick for the community, there are tons of events this weekend. Pride really kicks off on Friday. There is a block party that's free at 5th and Water starting at 4:30 on Friday. And then on Saturday from 10 to 6, there's a free music and art festival that's down at Port Plaza and Percival Landing. The city will have a booth down there. I'll be sitting at the booth from 2 to 4 if any of you want to come by and say hi. And then, of course, on Sunday, starting at 11 a.m., there is a parade. Many of you and I will be in the parade together. I can't wait for Sunday. It's one of my favorite things. And then there's some other events on Sunday again at Sylvester Park and Heritage Park. So just want to invite the community out to have a great time. Pride Weekend is so much fun, and I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. All right. Well, just another reminder to the community that the council does not have another business meeting for the next 2 weeks, and we will return to council chambers for a regularly scheduled business meeting on Tuesday, July 14th. So with no further business before the Olympia City Council, we're adjourned.